Okay, so it's Halloween. It is October 31st, and for those of you who are watching this video, you're missing all of the candy assortment. Did we do well on candy choices today?
Yes.
Yes. Twix your favorite?
Oh, I love
Love Twix. Oh. What's your favorite?
Chocolate, any chocolate.
Just feed you, right? Okay. Yeah, there's loads. So if there's more, yeah, it's still really heavy. So you guys are welcome to empty that bag out today. Okay, so for today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at book cover, printed proofs of book covers, and we're going to critique them. Is there anybody who didn't print it and uploaded it instead? No? Okay.
I'm having a hard time putting it because on the PDF and it comes in separate pages, so I don't
Yes.
know how to get it on the spread.
Well,
yeah, I think you're supposed to set it on a spread because it's like it's default as like pages, and
Yeah.
while I was making to a PDF, I found an option.
Oh, it's like from there to spread on a PDF.
Yes.
Yeah, because that part
You click spread. So,
that part's
okay.
something too. So
you know what, we talked about this.
Re-export it.
We talked about this. I think it's in our video, not to be specific or anything. But, What page menu? Let's go to Open Recent and see what I did. Poster. Let's go to Spreads Menu Gatefold. That'll show you. So here we did this for a menu exercise. This was Ariel's. And she had 4 pages, remember? So let's not pay attention to really what the content is and anything like that. But when you have 4 pages, and actually for your book cover when we demoed it, you have 5 panels. Do you remember that? So Xavier, if you want to know how to set it up easily, go to the video from last week because it will save your life. Okay?
Are we recording now?
We were recording now. We are still recording now. I don't know why I didn't show, but we are. Anyway, so when you export it, so I'm going to do these top 4 pages. When you're in InDesign, you go to File, you go to Adobe PDF Preset, High Quality Print, right? This is for your book cover. I could swear, let's just see if we can find the book cover on the desktop. Spreads, book cover, here we go. So this is what you're going to want it to look like. Take a look up. That's what you're going to want it to look like, okay? You're going to want the crop marks in there. So these are 5 pages, and basically how it was set up, I wonder why maybe I didn't keep maybe I just didn't keep the book cover file. Anyway, when you go to a PDF, you go to Adobe PDF Preset, High Quality Print. Make sure you've built a bleed. It'll take the file name, it'll add PDF to it, never hide the extension, you save it, click this magic button, Spreads. We're doing pages 1 to 4, so we would 1-4. We would choose crop marks because you want them. You want bleed settings because your bleed settings should default to 1/8 of an inch, everybody, right? Everybody knows that. Rocio, you know that? Your bleed settings should default to 1/8 of an inch. When you set up your document, you set it up that way. So when you click Use Document Bleed Settings, that'll fill in. You can't see it, but it says 1/8 of an inch. And then I usually put page information because I like to know what page I'm working with. But you can see 1 to 4 spreads, and then you export it and view after exporting. And then it'll launch Acrobat and show us. And it puts in your fold marks. You can see between the pages, it puts in your crop marks. If you have a bleed, your bleed will extend past your crop marks, which you want. And that's how you do it. Now, the problem you're going to have, everybody's going to have, is it's going to be too wide for an 11 by 17 sheet of paper, the print size we have here.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to tile it. And what you do for that is you're going to go to print your PDF, and you'll get a dialog box eventually. And you go to multiple. And no, I did that wrong. You go to poster, like you did for your type specimen poster. And you want it to overlap. I make it overlap at 10, like 1/2 of an inch. And then you decide which way you want your paper turned, landscape or whichever. And by going to poster and 100% scale and overlapping a 1/2 inch, it'll print as many pages as necessary, and you'll tile it like you did your type specimen posters. Everybody understands me? Yeah? Okay. That's it. That's what you do.
On my home printer, I don't have these dialogues on my PC, and I have to actually manually set all that up.
Do you? Well, yet again, another reason to choose Apple. You set yourself up for that this time.
I don't know if it's Apple.
Okay. Anybody have questions about that? All right. Then let's do this. Let's start with our book covers. I'm going to put this on pause because we're going to look at physical book covers and we're going to critique the heck out of them so everybody gets bigger, better, stronger with their covers. Okay. Close this up and I'm going to pause this. Okay. So right now we're talking about the goal of book cover design. And we're looking at a sample called Bag of Bones, which has a deep dark color palette appropriate, as you said, for kind of the mystery, the eeriness, and kind of because it's a gradient background, it creates an abyss feeling, right, which is what you're going for. One of the things we think about when we create a book cover is what people are going to, when you're at a distance, what people will notice. So how does your color palette work when your book is sitting amidst all the noise on a table at Barnes & Noble, right? If you go to Amazon, you're going to find a book because you're looking for it, because you're not looking for pretty cover designs. But when you go to something like Barnes & Noble, there's tables of books, and you're either looking at the shelf, so you're going to look at a spine and decide how exciting the spine is and how it catches your eye. Or they'll flip the book and put it on a shelf and show you the cover. Or they'll fill up a table of books and you'll see covers. And so you have to decide what's going to draw your attention, what's your style, what matters. When you have an author that's important, like Stephen King, his name alone could sell a book without knowing the name of the book.
Yeah, all the past covers, his name
Is the bigger part,
Yeah.
right? So all the previous covers you looked at, for example, his name's really large. Everybody commented they liked your font because it felt kind of creepy, and it's condensed, and you've tracked it really tight.
Yeah.
You tighten the tracking so your letters overlap, so
Yeah.
it's got this
I kind of wanted it to almost look
like an illustration, right? And it's a very sketchy font. So the reason why I asked you so much about what happens in the story is sometimes the way we handle type might be the metaphor. Might be the metaphor for the story itself.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was trying to do a ghostly feel, and that's why it's kind of light looking on the background. So
Why the backgrounds?
no, the text on the background,
Oh,
why it kind of
There's not a lot of contrast. You want it to feel ghosty, like
a little
translucent.
ghosty. Yeah.
Well, so this brings up a few things. So if you want a ghosty feeling, or if you want it to feel like a bag of bones, this is the one opportunity you have for this project to play around with distorting type.
Yeah.
So, for example, you might decide that you take this font and you turn it to outline, and you stretch it, which in Illustrator is called envelope. I'll show you. It's either distort envelope or envelope wrap. I will show it to you because it's really a great opportunity to play with stuff. In that Day of the Dead poster over there, I showed that student this technique. Oh, actually, let's see if I can pull it up. While we're talking about it, I want to communicate what I'm talking about. And you can look on the screen behind me. So it's an opportunity to manipulate your type to maybe help tell your story. And so you can take your type, bag of bones, and I wouldn't always set type, like without looking at your process. Your type is set on one line. I don't know if you tried it stacked, flush left.
Yeah, I kind of knew that I wanted it to just be mostly at the bottom. So for
You
that
wanted
reason,
to be
it was,
sinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Is
for
that what
reason,
you
it
wanted?
was just on, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right.
'Cause
So,
it also has a lot of drowning in the book. So
oh, it has drowning.
yeah,
Okay.
I didn't mention that for some reason, but yeah. There's
Okay.
a lot of drowning.
Okay. So I'm making a new document in Illustrator, and I don't know what size it is, but I'm going to type just the word bag, and I'm going to make it big. In Illustrator, in a certain sense, it's not, and I'm going to make it kind of condensed like what you got going on here. So I don't even know what this font is, but there it is. And I don't use this tool a lot, so I'm not good at demoing it, okay? But you go to type and you create outlines like you do in InDesign or Illustrator. But there's a object, see if we can find it, path, no, shape, no, envelope distort, that's what I want. So envelope distort, you can make with a warp tool or a mesh. Let's make it with a warp tool and see what we get. And let's preview it as we do it. So it can do it like in an arc, it can do it in a squeeze or a twist. You can do all these manipulative things. That's not really what I was thinking of. What I was really thinking of was with a mesh tool. And you can add basically a grid on top of your type, which adds vector points. And you'll see it as I do it. So we're going to just start with 4 rows, 4 columns. And so it added a grid on top of the type. So what it did is it took that type, that's an outline vector. You following me? And if I use my selection tool, the white arrow, the direct selection tool, I can grab this one corner point and distort it. And then it has handles, so I can make it bulgy and round. Okay? And so I'm going to do this really fast, but you'll see what I'm doing in a second. And what I might do is tug this one in, and tug this one in, and tug this one in, and tug this one in. And I can grab any of these points and I can distort my type. So maybe I shape this type to be more readable, which I'm not worrying about right now, but to convert it to the shape of a bag of bones, maybe. So what I'm saying is you can distort your type, and with this opportunity, without really creating an illustration, your type becomes the metaphor for the bag of bones. Okay? And I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do. I'm saying it's an option. And maybe you do bag of.
I've never tried that before.
Well, and I hardly use it. I rarely distort type.
Yeah.
But with a book cover, no outline type, no gradients in your type, no patterns in your type. But for this, I allow the creativity of doing something different in your type. Also, actually, I'm going to take back the gradients in your type, because for this, if Bag of Bones filled up your page and you put a gradient where it started light from the surface and darker, like you're sinking inside your type, that's also a way to handle the metaphor. So I'd love to see you explore more variety for it. You did a great job on your spine. Usually there's a publisher that shows up here, where the publisher's logo is. You can put that in. All right. Because I want it to look as professional as possible.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
I put there's a publisher in one of the folds.
Okay.
I can
the
add
flap.
it. Yeah.
And then in the back, you have to look and you have to say, okay, does that get me all excited? Does that get you excited?
I was going to put a quote, and kind of like a similar type of weird text like that. But I couldn't find really a place for it, so I don't know. I might still, I still have it, so I might still mess around with that a little bit.
Right. So what I'd probably do, oh, I'm still recording, good. What I'd probably do is you got to remember the back side. So the first thing that catches your eye is the front cover.
Mhm.
Will that jump out at you in a table in a sea of book covers? And why? What will it look like next to everything else? And then people always flip over the back cover, don't you guys? And then you look on the back and you see what it's about. And this does not thrill me. You might want to take this headline, the way you handle type for your cover,
Mhm.
and have it the same importance, and also have Stephen King's cover on the back, and name on the back. One large block of text that's justified almost makes your mind discard it, because it just looks like something that's dense and you don't want to be reading it.
Mhm.
You can, if you have a block that wide, you can make your type smaller and a little heavier so it's better on a dark background. And you can make it 2 columns and add a gutter to it. You don't have to go margin to margin. You can make this much narrower.
Yeah, I was gonna see if it would look good narrow too, because I felt like it was very at the top of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can use pull quotes. You could put words that are ghosted in the background. You said it's
Yeah, it was gonna be
ghosting.
kind of like a ghosted quote.
Right.
So I thought.
But you can also put ghosted words in the background of, keys to the story,
Yeah.
or characters, or
Mhm.
things that might spark us. That wouldn't be large enough to scan. So look at a book and look at the
Okay, I
scale
can
of
do
it
that.
more appropriately. Right. And you'll have an ISBN number and a UPC code both.
Yeah, so were we supposed to find it for the particular book?
Nah, just go steal it.
Okay, because I was like,
Nah, don't even worry about
yeah.
it. Go steal it. That's fine.
Okay.
Just make sure, because it wouldn't be scannable because it's too dense in there.
Yeah,
So
it
those
is.
readers. So what I want you to do is consider more. You created quotes from different people here.
Oh, those were in one of the original copies.
Right. Okay.
So it's
So-
real great.
So they're not readable.
Yeah,
You already know that.
I do.
And you already put a long dash and you put an italic for who to attribute it to, and you indented it, and all that's great. And you
Yeah, that
probably
one, I
know-
was going to make that one smaller. I noticed that after. I don't know how I.
Well, you just go to the next line, you break it. So you say the New York Times, and then you break it, and do a soft return, and then hit. There's something called indent to here. Do you know what indent to here is? I'll show you.
I might.
Indent to here is in InDesign, which is where you're handling your type. And when you have a large block of type in indent to here, let's make all this type flush left. Okay? And let's say I have a long dash right here and a space, and I want, and I want cocktail sauce to line up under the word apple. I put a soft return there. Shift return is a soft return, which means it did not add the space after the paragraph. It just kept the same leading. Everybody with me on that? All right. If you put your cursor in front of the A for apple and you go to type and you go to, oh God, I think it's insert special character, other, and then it's called indent to here. And I thought this was the stupidest thing, to tell you the truth. But it's super magic, because right now, before I do that, right now my cursor's right where the apple is. Everything that's part of that paragraph, let me make this even longer. Copy that. There. Okay? Everything that's part of this paragraph, the word apple, my cursor's next to the A. If I go to insert special character, other, indent to here, it makes everything line up under that apple without having to break your line and go tab.
break your line, go tab. That's what you would ordinarily do. You'd say, let me shift return my line and tab it over. This one's magic. It's just indent to here. This is the quote that you're using. That's a particularly useful thing for indent to here. So again, your hierarchy is good, but so that's what I would do under the. Oh, thanks, John.
I'll definitely.
The other thing is consider your hierarchy here. Praise, this is kind of a whisper of praise. If it's Stephen King, maybe it should have more of a voice. You might consider more margins. Be bold. You can put anything you want on here. You can make this out to whatever you want. Here you wrote about the author. We don't need an author's photo.
Yeah, I did it just because he's so well known. So
yeah, but I don't want any photos in these, so you don't need them. Again, back to that same thing. I think forcing justification tends to make blocks of text that look really clean, but it also makes us kind of disregard them because it's kind of a block of text. So
yeah, that's why I didn't do the justification.
Yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think that's more readable than that is?
Whoa.
None of it's readable, I understand, but
yeah.
You decide. I'd play with that.
Yeah.
And here you've got the logo for the
that's
publisher, and you can put that on the spine. That's okay. You've got all the right details. That's great. But you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, the back cover was the part that's like my least
Yeah.
favorite.
So I think you got more exploration to do, and the fact that there's ghosts in there, you can work with transparencies and opacities.
Yeah.
All kinds of things, and maybe even things floating through the bags of bones. Like you could put things that create the type becomes like multi-layered ethereal quality as though things were passing through it. Just by different circles of white with different opacities on top of it.
Yeah.
Is that
almost like bubbles?
Well, if I take, let's just go back to this for a second. And I don't know if it's a good idea or not, it's just fun to play. So let's just say this is our type. And that's what it's shaped like. If I, for example, take this circle and it's white. Oh my gosh. Here we go. It's white. And I change its opacity, let's say to 20. And then I start doing and I'm not making an interesting pattern, but just by layering different opacities, you've created something that's kind of, who knows what's happening there. And imagine if those weren't circles, but they were the same kind of fluid shape that your letters are, for example, if that were what you chose. So those things are okay. Those things are working with type to add some dimension and depth to them. I think would be maybe something worth exploring anyway. And I say this not only for your book, I say this as a way to spark everybody's thinking in terms of how not to just place a headline in place, that and rely on a background, but consider what you can do with your type to make it spring out. Also, when you do quotes, your quotes might be on the back because Amy Tam's really famous, and and the people who review the book might have more wow factor or as much wow factor as Stephen King. So decide where to place all this information, which is great that you came up with it. And just consider ways to keep drawing this in. Okay, beautiful. Thanks for sharing it. Okay, who else wants to go with that? Anybody? Everybody's afraid now. Vicki, why did you go on endlessly? I'm looking for my, here it is. Okay, I'm going to pause again. So, for example, if you wanted to take this this graphic here, oh, this is a master page if I remember right. Oh, it's not. But if you wanted to take this graphic and not have a hard edge like you do on your book cover, right? One of the things you could do is, there's two ways to do this. Usually what I do is I just I copy that box, Command-C, copy it. I go Edit, Paste in Place, Edit, Paste in Place, right on top of it, the identical thing, right? I'm going to take the artwork out of it. So now it's just a box you can't see right now. I'm going to go to my fill, there. With that box active, go to my fill. I'm going to fill it with black, okay, like that. And I can go to the gradient feather and hold my shift key down and get a partial gradient. And instead of having that hard edge here, you can decide how far you want your gradient to go. Like I can hold my shift key and bring my gradient all the way to there. And it just creates something softer and gradual, so you don't have this hard line here, but you still accomplish having this dark background here. Sometimes that's a good solution for the way you want something to work. And then the other thing I do to that also is with this box active, I go to effects right here. And instead of it being normal, I go to multiply, which melds the two layers together, the two boxes, the two images, whatever two things you select. Multiply means it overprints it. Instead of creating like this feather gradient on top of it, it picks up the color behind it also, the graphic. You've already talked about how you know to maybe add your title on the back and your author, the same way you handle it here, maybe a smaller scale. A lot of you could separate out pull quotes from a synopsis. You could put about the author here, for example, if you wanted, and you can have pull quotes here. You can use quote marks. You have what's called dumb quote marks. Does anybody remember that we talked about at the beginning of the semester? Dumb quote marks aren't the curly ones. Do you know what I'm talking about, Marcia?
She does have one.
Oh, there you go. You got smart quotes there. They curl around the quote. The dumb ones are just like two little lines.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
So you have to correct them.
Yeah.
You have to go in there and make sure they're the right ones. And if you can't figure that out, you can go into glyphs, type glyphs, and the font that's highlighted, you'll find the smart quotes in there. Okay? The other thing, you use two hyphens because you pulled this off the internet. The internet doesn't do M dashes sometimes. They'll put in hyphen hyphen. So hyphen hyphen means M dash.
Okay.
So not just two hyphens, it means M dash. Again, here's a quote, and then you attribute it to Austin American, what does that say, Statesman? Austin American Statesman should be on the next line below because that's who said the quote. So you should create a hierarchy of information. The quote would be big. The attribution, who said it, the person you attribute the quote to, is usually smaller, sometimes offset, indented. So pay attention to your lines and where they break. Really important. Okay. Same thing. You should probably have space under here. So here's a quote from Stephen King, right? About his book. So maybe Stephen King, if you want to keep it in uppercase, that's fine, but his book wouldn't be handled the same way as Stephen King. It might be in italic and upper and lowercase. You got to remember, our eye is looking for cues of how to break apart words or paragraphs or messages. So you have to support that as a typographer. Does that help you remember? One of the things I really think is strong, I so well is you picked a really interesting typeface for something that sounds like horrible, and a really bold, easy to see face. And Stephen King is used really formal type because he's just an icon as an author. And you picked a very formal, iconic font. Yeah, I don't know if that's Times or Trajan or Garaman.
It's another one I got from the font. It's like, I think Nightmare something.
This?
Yeah.
Really? Wow. Well, it looks incredibly formal and beautiful sans serif traditional font. Like, I am important. I am an icon. Everybody knows me. I am a famous author. Here I am. And and it's strong, and that's okay. It succeeds being strong. So, nix the photo. Remember hierarchy and how you deliver information. And what is it you want to say? Right? What do you want to say? Make it up. Make it up. Go look at books and see what they do. Or this whole page, this whole flap, could be every book Stephen King has ever written. You like this book of Stephen King's? Check out his other. Right? That's okay too. Be imaginative on how you do this. Right? Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful start. Anybody else? Yeah. Oh, that's really good.
I thought you were supposed to print 6.
Yeah, we were.
Oh, okay.
That's great. We were supposed to print as many as we possibly could.
Okay. I don't.
If you're in InDesign, did you do that in InDesign? All your letters? Okay. If you're in InDesign, with all your type, when you're all done and everything's done, you can do a couple things. Let me set it up actually the way you set it up. Let's try this page. Let's see now. And we have the letter T, and let me just try and create these. There. Let's make something more fun. Sometimes I just can't bring myself to use type, even though it's just a demo. I just can't. There's a font called Party Font, which is what I was looking for. It had all these little curlicues going on in it, but I don't think it's in here anymore. We'll pick this. This is not bad. And so everything was a separate letter, right? Okay, so I'm just monkeying around with this stuff. Right, doesn't really matter what I did. Okay, so there's a few things you could do. What you chose to do is this. You chose to create a box, to cut off the edge. You filled yours with black because your type was white, but you did that. You just pasted a box on top. That's fine. I wouldn't know the difference, but it's not graceful. And if you were really trying to create a graphic that you could always use, that was always cropped in always the same place, that would become problematic for you. So the ways you would do it is this. If you're in InDesign, you could, I think what I'd have to do is I think I'd have to convert all of this type to outlines, I believe. I think that I could take this box and this letter A only and go to the Pathfinder tool, Window, Object, Pathfinder, and whatever's in front will knock out, will delete what it overlaps. So I find what looks like that, which is called subtract, and it subtracted that of the A, okay? If you're in Illustrator, and I don't know if InDesign has this, so forgive me if I'm making a mess and I don't know. Let me fill this with none and stroke it with black, because if it works like Illustrator, what's on top becomes invisible. So I would select all of this if I was in Illustrator. Let's see if it works in InDesign the same way. And you go to Object, Path. It's called a clipping path. Pardon me? Yeah. Ah, there. I don't think it's going to let me do it. Yeah, it's not going to do it here. In Illustrator, let me select all this. Let me cut all this out. If I were in Illustrator, our little psychedelic bag, paste this here. The box on top is on top. So everything selected below it, you go to Object, it's all selected together. You go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make It. That didn't work.
What about pasting?
No. It's probably because because it brought it in as a group. Let me do that differently. Let me come back here. Let me undo that. Let me delete that. These were all vector, so I'm going to copy it. They'll be seen in Illustrator like this, I believe. Let's go to View, Outline. Yeah. That's why it already was contained in this box. So let's delete that box. Okay. So here's our type. What I did was I viewed it as its vector outline. That's what I did. View, outline. You can see its vector and its vector points. You all get that? All right. And so now I could put a circle over this. Doesn't matter whether it's filled or not filled. It's the shape on top of all those. And I select them all so they're all active. And the shape on top is what is the mask for what's everything below in Illustrator. And go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make a Clipping Mask, and they all stay within that circle. So how you would do that, the reason I'm showing you this is if you wanted to always have it masked the same way and put it on the front of the book the same way, scale it down to the back of the book in a corner the same way, you know, all of that. You don't have to worry about your little white tape you used. Mm-hmm. That's why you would choose to do it like this. And then you'd save this graphic in Illustrator and then place it and scale it wherever you want it. And would always crop the same way you want it to. Okay. So drop caps in InDesign are easy, fast, wonderful, thrilling. You can make a character panel. Remember that funny little character?
I'm having a really hard time with the paragraph style.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I would go out and edit them, and then it wouldn't go to everyone.
Oh, maybe you didn't apply it to everyone. Maybe it wasn't applied. No, maybe you didn't apply them to all the paragraphs because it should change all of them.
But I would go back and click on it and be like, it would be.
Oh, well, sometimes it's like this. So let's say this is a paragraph style. Let's look. So you see that little plus sign?
Yeah.
That means that it's different than it is specified. That's what that means. And so if I select this paragraph, select all, let's just select this one paragraph. If I click on it, I need that plus sign to go away, which now means it works as it should. If you have that plus sign, that might be your problem. Okay. Here, for a drop cap, I can click on this paragraph anywhere. I can go to the paragraph controls. I can look for where it shows me drop cap right there, drop cap 1. And I decide how many lines down I want my drop cap. No, this one, sorry. This one. How many lines down I want the drop cap to go in that paragraph. And I can just make it 20 lines deep. And then maybe I decide that I want it 2 characters wide, and I go to this one, how many characters do I want my drop cap to be? And Ed now becomes my, oh, it's so cool, right? It's really fun. The other thing is I can also make a character style and apply it to this as well, where maybe Ed becomes a different font. What was that font I just used? It was kind of curly. No, it's marker felt. It's not attractive, but we'll suffer. And then I could make marker felt a character style because it's active character style. New character style. What's the difference in my character? I just want it to be marker felt. And the only thing I want it to do is be marker felt. It's not going to impact my paragraph. So here, for example, I can take that O right there that I'm highlighting, and I can go to the character style and turn it into marker felt. It didn't become a drop cap because it's only dealing with the character font. That's different. It's not dealing with the paragraph aspect of it, of drop caps. You get that? All right. So they're kind of cool. Okay, I recorded, John. Okay, so I did nothing to apply this to the paragraph style. So if I click here, I go to paragraph style. I'm going to make a new paragraph style based on the one that's highlighted. I'm going to call it body and drop cap. Okay, right? And now you'll look and we'll go to drop caps and see how it picked up 8 lines and 2 characters. Okay. Now, if I click on this paragraph here, I'm going to go designate it as my body drop cap paragraph. It's going to look the same, but that ed is probably not going to keep the right character font. Okay? See the plus sign, Miss Bianca? This plus sign means that I did something that's not authentic to this paragraph. If I hold my option key down, it overrides it, which turned ed back to the body copy.
Okay, so
But if I want to make my drop cap to be a special character, I can either highlight it and turn it to marker by using my character panel, or I can go to my paragraph style. I think, let's see if I do this right. Go to drop cap here, and it says, okay, so what do you want this dropped cap to be? Oh, I'm going to leave it the same font it is. I don't want to make my character different. But no, on second thought, Taylor really wants it to be the marker font. So I'm going to tell it to pick up that character style for those drop caps. And you can control it in one swoop. Is that what your question was?
yeah, it's about like it changing if you selected.
And so now I say, oh gosh, okay, I have a paragraph panel that is my drop cap, but now I want anything that's in my marker font drop cap. I don't want it to be black. I want it to be pink. Here's my preview. I want it to be yellow, blue. You can control it. And so if it wasn't changing, it means it wasn't applied. That little plus sign is your key that it, that's it. And how to get rid of that little plus sign is to hold your option key down
Okay.
when you click it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Do you think you can show me how to change the black logo to white in Photoshop?
Which logo? The penguin logo or whatever it
Yeah,
is?
the-
Sure. Who's your publisher?
Evercell Publishing House.
Who is it?
It's EVRENSEL.
Okay.
House.
Is that right?
SEL at the end.
Yeah?
Yeah, Publishing House.
Okay. There we go. And here's images. And here's their
Yep, that's the one I used.
low res logo. So let's see if there's a better one for you, maybe. Let's just see if there is. No. Okay. You're going to suffer with this one. And we're going to steal it. And I'm going to steal it and open it in Photoshop. Okay? The easiest thing I would do with it, personally, there's a couple ways to go about this. One is, which I don't think is ever successful, but I will show you. you go to Image, and you go to Adjustment, Invert. That's way too easy. The reason I don't like this one is this black might not match your background color. So I prefer working with logos that have a transparent background. Okay, so I'm undoing that. So what I would do is this. I would probably go to Select, Color Range, and I'd sample the white, and I hold my Shift key down, and it's using within 40 pixels, and it's going to select everything that's white. And then basically what I do is this. I go to Select, and I'm going to inverse it. So it's going to take everything that's white, and it's going to select everything instead that's not white, which will be the black logo, and I inverse it. And I'm also going to just duplicate my original logo layer and turn off the eye so it doesn't see it. And what I'm going to do to this, there's two things I can do. I can mask it, which I just clicked the mask at the bottom of the layer panel, down in the bottom right corner. See where it says add mask?
Oh,
Right there. See it?
oh, yeah.
And it made the background transparent, everything that wasn't selected, the white, it masked it, so it made it disappear. So now it has a transparent background. No, it's just a transparent background. It's not a PNG unless I save it as that. But yes, it functions like you're accustomed to those being. Yes. The other thing I can do is this. Now I've got this selection. Like if I say select my mask, load selection, load my selection, it says load the copy mask, the layer mask. See, it selected everything black. That's just to show you that this mask selected that. But if I wanted to, because it's print, I don't need it selected, so I don't want you guys to get confused. So let me deselect. So for print, your files should be CMYK color. Everybody knows that, yes? For your books that you're going to upload, your type books, every file you work with should be CMYK color. Don't merge it. Okay. And the other thing is every image should not be 96 resolution. Don't resample it. It should be 300. And you'll see this is now a 1-inch logo, itty bitty, because you want high resolution. You don't resample it because you don't want to stretch it. You just want to take the information you have, keep the information you have, and find out what size it is at high resolution. So if I placed this logo and it's more than 100%, you know I'm really just trying to stretch it, and it's not going to print clearly. So now it's correct for printing. Now, the other thing I can do, because I have this layer mask, is let me just duplicate this so I have all my layers to work with and turn this one off. And now it's CMYK, and I'm going to click and make a color, and I'm going to make this logo red just so you can see. It could be white, it could be red, it could be anything. And with this layer selected, remember here's my original logo I duplicated. Here's the one with the layer mask that selected the black. I turned off the eyeball so you can't see him. This is the one we're working on. I'm going to fill this entire layer with that red color I picked, but because this is masked, even though that whole layer is going to be red, that part is only going to show up because of the mask. So if I go to this layer and I go to edit and I fill it with the foreground color, which is that red, that becomes red. If I duplicate it and I decide that inside my book, oops, not trash it, duplicate it, turn off my red, and I go to this, and I go now edit, fill, and I don't want my foreground color, I just want to fill it with white. Now I have it as white to reverse it. And what I would do, let's say in one place I want it red and in one place I want it white. For here, I would go, there's a couple things you can do, I don't want to overcomplicate you. I'd say logo white, and save it as a Photoshop native document. And then I turn this one off and turn this one on. And I go to Save As, and I go to Logo Red, and I'd have two files identical, right? Two different colors. And then I can go back here, and I can go to Save As. I'm going to show you something now that this is how I prefer to do it because I like knowing what I'm working with. However, InDesign is really, really magical. I will admit this, which is this. If I'm in InDesign and I'm going to place my logo here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this. Oh, let me do it on the black backgrounds. I mean on the blue background so you can see it. If I go to my selection tool and I go to File, Place, and I place the red logo because it looked pretty on the blue. And I go to Open. Because it's transparent background, even though you think what I'm placing is white, you can see that it's transparent. And that's placed at 100%. So if I go to high quality display, all my edges clean up. Did you see that? But this is what you should see even more so is, let me undo this and go to File, Place, Command D, File, Place. And I'm going to pick the red logo and I'm going to open it. No, that's not what I wanted to do. There's a box missing for this of options. What's that? Here? Is that what you're looking at? Oh, options. Thank you. That's what I want. It's exactly what I want. Show import options. This is what I want to show you guys. Click Show Import Options. And now I'm going to pick the red logo. And I'm going to click Open. I'm going to get a dialog box. And this is the thing you could do if you have one Photoshop file with all those options I made, red, green, blue. I can do this. This is my red layer. I can turn on my white layer and place my white. I can turn on my black layer, and now it places it as black. That's crazy, right? That's crazy, I know. I tend not to use it. I think I'm afraid of it, but I don't know why I'm afraid of it. I don't know. It's because it's a new thing since I learned this in the dark ages 100 years ago. When I learned Photoshop, it didn't exist, but it does exist now. So again, if I go to File, Place, and my option box shows, thank you so very much, Miss Bianca, and I go to red and I click Open and I just say okay, it's going to give me how I saved my red file, right? But it's kind of magic, I think, actually. So, okay. Anybody else want me to demo while I'm demoing? Yeah.
Very quickly, supposing you wanted that 3-4 times that size, it would be ragged.
So right here, I placed it at 88%. If I place it, if I go up here and I place it at 100% proportionally, that I know because I made it 300 pixels per inch, it's going to be beautiful. If I happen to...
What if you need it larger?
Well, such an excellent question. He's like, what if I needed it larger? The truth is if I needed it larger, I'd write the publisher and say, I'm creating a professional publication. Give me your logo at high resolution. Because anything else I do would be called interpolation. So, for example, I can open this up, hit Control, and go to Edit Original. And because I saved it as a PSD file, a Photoshop file, it'll open it automatically for me in Photoshop, right like that. If I want it bigger, I go to Image Size. I already know that I wanted it 300 pixels per inch. This is not a vector graphic. This is a Photoshop pixel by pixel image. If I stretch it, if I make this 6 inches and I resample it here, and I make it 300 pixels per inch, and I went from a 0.5 megabyte in size to 12 megabytes in size here, I'm faking it out. Can you see how fuzzy that is on the screen? Can you guys see that? That's what I'm doing. I'm faking it out. The only other option you have, is that what you were having me get at, John?
Well,
You want me to
2
turn it
weeks
to a
ago,
vector?
I put up a tutorial called Faking a Font because I run into this situation
All the
a
time.
lot. It would show you how to reconstruct this.
Well, what I'd probably do, because this is all beautiful angles and it's a very angular logo, you can see what's called the jagged edges here, pixel by pixel. There's no way to make it clean like that. The thing you can do, for example, is I could go to load selection. I don't encourage this really, but you can. You load the selection and you see everything's active, right? I can go to paths and I can make a work path and base it on, let's say, 3 pixels. And what it does is it made vector point to vector point to vector point for me. And now I've got a vector logo if I put this into Illustrator. But it's not very accurate. Look at my corner here, right? You know, it's one of those logos you can emulate easily by drawing it with rectangles in Illustrator yourself. And I don't know how you fake out fonts. They're never...
That's in the tutorial.
Okay, well, John's
2
going to
weeks
link
ago,
it.
The tutorial, how to fake that.
How to fake that font. Okay, so there you go. But you can see by the vector lines that it's guessing where to put those lines. But I have rebuilt logos with Illustrator. But it's time consuming.
Sometimes you have to do it.
Well, as long as I'm paid to. That's a truth, really. So, did that take care of you? Yeah. Anybody else busy with questions? You're busy with questions.
On that logo where we rastered a vector, there is a program called Image Magic that would probably take that very ragged logo and give you a perfect reproduction. But it
And
costs
John,
money.
it'll cost money. Yeah. You know, if you look here, what it tries to do, and you look how it fakes out type, it's really not graceful. It's just not. So
But that type can be fun.
that type can be fun. Yeah. Okay. So baseline shift is simply highlight a letter, go up to the character panel, go here to where it says, wait, come on, speak up. Watch where my cursor is, right there. It's baseline shift. It's not talking right now, but baseline shift. It's very weird to grab that because it still thinks it's part of that same line. Like if you try and grab it up here, it's going to go, I don't know what you're talking about. That does not belong up here. So you have to grab that F down here. But so if I want to bring it back down, I can do negative baseline shift too. So you can make them jump up and down and you can tighten them. So maybe that's all it takes. Or maybe what it takes is putting stripes in the letters, diagonal stripes, or putting the Queen of Hearts glyph you found here, or, you know. Oh, yeah, thanks, John. Okay, it's still Halloween. And we're in part 2 of typography, and we just finished critiquing the preliminary book covers just for feedback. And now we're moving on to have a conversation about the Seeing the World Through Typographical Eyes books. And the question is, what is it the question right now at this moment is, when do we go to MagCloud and upload our finished book? When should we be sending it to print? And what I would do is, let's see if they have support, sign up, features, pricing, shop, create, solutions. Let's see, print, schedule. Let's see if that brings us anywhere. In search. Let's say what? Help! There you go. Thank you. Okay, MagCloud blurb. Let's see. Upload and publish. What do I need? How much does it cost? What formats? Distribution. How do they print? How much? Send me a sample. Distribution. No, you don't want that. Shipping options. Okay, let's go to shipping options.
So one of the ways they don't expedite printing is my memory, but let's see. Print time. Let's see if that shows up anything. What are we going to check out? What payments? How can I cancel? Maximum order. Check the status. Well, let's figure it out.
Well, the blue book, which is the one that I was
Yes.
reading, it said it takes 7 to 11 days, but I didn't know if there was a certain time.
Oh, what our deadline is. Okay, so for blurb it says 7 to 10 days. So let's
7 to 11.
7 to 11 days. Okay. So it is due here on November 28th. And the reason it comes to me, us, here in class on November 28th is because the last day of class, which I believe,
Is like there a deadline to send it off? I guess is your question.
well, you need to bring it to class. Let's look at this.
If not, then obviously.
You need to bring it to class on November 27th. That's
So
the
you
date.
just work with it. There's not like a thing send off.
I don't have it.
Okay.
You have it.
Okay.
Because what happens is you bring it to class the last day of class. Everybody leaves their books, printed books here with me. By then you have photographed your printed book. It's arrived at your house. Don't assume that if it delivers on a Tuesday, you'll get it in time for class. So if I were you, I'd have it deliver on Friday before class. Okay, so let's do that schedule. So Friday before class is like November. It's Thanksgiving weekend. I mean, it's challenging, right? It's Thanksgiving weekend. And then you back it up. So now you back it up 2 weeks because you need 3 days, 1 week for shipping, whatever it is. And what costs you isn't really the book, to be honest. It's insane. What really costs you is expediting your shipping. Like you could pay $50 to get it here sooner, and your book might cost you $15. I mean, that's how insane it is, right? So you just said that, pardon me?
So you suggest maybe?
No, I'm suggesting do not do expedited
Oh,
shipping
okay.
because it costs you so much money.
Yeah.
So if you're lagging, don't do it. There's other local printers that will do these books for you professionally. You'll give them your files, they'll print them. There's one in Carpinteria who I work with. They'll perfect bind it. But it'll cost you 3 times the amount of money, right? It gives you control because you could drive there. You don't have to worry about shipping and stuff. Also, you're going to want to have me proof your book before you send it off to ship, so I see if there's any problems with it. So you answered your own question, really, which is 11 days to print your book. Let's say, no, I don't have a deadline. You just have to upload it. Let me go back to our date. You have to upload it. I have it as November 28th. Yes.
I don't know, but it's about the thing. I think they signed anything like that. I don't know if you used it before. But
Blurb?
Yeah.
I've used MagCloud.
It's similar, I'm pretty sure.
Same
So,
company.
Yeah, I downloaded the thing for formatting books,
Yes.
and so I use that to format my book.
Yes.
But the thing about that is that there's something you can do for the pages, and then it doesn't have the cover.
Yes.
So you do it separately.
Yes.
And then you upload it separately.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so
I
what
thought
Taylor
that part was weird.
So what Taylor's talking about is, let's say you get a photo book. There's many types of photo books you can get. You can get photo books, different formats, different paper finishes. They all cost different money, and different covers. One is a glossy soft cover, which is what's called a perfect bound book, has a spine that wraps around the book, and the book trims flush. Okay? It's like most of the paper books you guys buy. This one, the middle one, is a hardcover image wrap. So those are more like kid books or textbooks, new textbooks, where
you have a photograph or image or graphic on the cover. It's a hardbound cover, and it's got a super shiny, plasticky protection over the image that's on the hardbound cover. That's called an image wrap book, right? Everybody know what I'm describing? All right. Lastly is this one. This is where you get a hardbound book. It's got a fabric cloth cover. You pick the color of your cloth. You pick the color of the paper inside your cover, black or white or something like that. And then your book cover is just like you're designing today. It's a book cover with a flap. And it is a separate file. You do upload that file separately and you build it separately. Okay? Is that the weird part?
Yeah, it was just weird. I didn't think it would be separate.
Mm-hmm. It's separate. It's a different printing process
And then it said not to make it until you finish formatting your pages too.
because they'll tell you the depth of your spine.
Yeah, I thought that was weird to say.
Well, you can kind of make it. You know
I mean, I
your
know mine what I wanted to
you
look
know
like,
your
but-
cover is going to be about the size of your book, probably a little bigger, and they'll tell you the sizes for it. And the whole reason I send you guys to a website, this is why. Because when you get hired by somebody, when you really work as a professional, and you get hired by somebody, they don't tell you where to print stuff. And I will also tell you that as a design professional, so here's the business of being a designer. Anybody interested in this? Okay. Yes. Okay. So the business of being a designer is this. You can work for somebody and you can get employed and you can get a salary, right? And you can make, you're going to make $25 an hour. I don't know that I'm right. I'm making up a number. I haven't been employed by somebody in so long. And you can get $25 an hour, and I don't know what that turns into your salary, and you can get insurance and all that stuff. So you're employed. Okay. You can work on a per job basis at an agency where they say, okay, we've got $5,000 for this project. Here's the scope of the project. Come on into our shop, work with us, but we don't check your hours. We don't give you benefits. You just get a per job project, right? The other thing is what I've been doing for decades, I hate to admit for so many years, is I'm a freelancer. So I meet my clients. They tell me the scope of what they need. I help them understand the scope of what they need because they usually don't know. And then I tell them, okay, this is what you're going to need to start your business. You're going to need business cards and letterhead and logo design and a website and, it changes form depending on the business. And this is what you're going to need. And let me get pricing for you. And then I go to printers, print shops I know, and I price out letterhead and business cards and envelopes and a brochure. And I know how to price out the website and design it. And then I give them, for lack of a better description, a menu. I give them a budget. Here's what you need. Here's approximately the cost for design. Here's approximately the cost for printing this number of things. And I find out basically what their budget is. Usually I try to start with their budget. Most clients don't know. And after all these years, I've got a sense of it. But for most of you, you're going to start with small clients. You're going to start with a friend who's launching their t-shirt line. Right? All of you are. You're going to say, okay, I got a friend. They're silk screening shirts. They want to make a brochure of their shirts and they want a website. And you're going to have to figure out how to budget the website, and you're going to have to figure out how to take the graphics you build their website to convert it to a brochure to leave in stores or something. Or there might be hang tags hanging from the clothes, how to wash it, what's so cool about it, the little hang tag that says all these flaws are intentional. This is the organic cotton nature of why we have flaws, and this tells you that it's made by special people, right, on small islands. And those are the things you're going to tell your client they need, and you're going to price it for them. So by knowing how to go online to get pricing for brochures, so just today, I have a client every year. They come to me. They're a very small client. Every year they have me do a postcard for them for their holiday party where they sell holiday gifts. And I know to go to Modern Postcard, and I have an account with Modern Postcard, and I can sign in to Modern Postcard. I don't know that I know my login anymore, but we'll try it. We'll see. There we go. So here's my active job. I just approved it. Here's the job. Here's the size of the postcard. Here's how it's designed. Here's the quantity. Here's the order status. Here's where it ships. It's in production. I approved it. It's super cool. You get to approve it where they show you a flip-flop animation of what the postcard looks on two sides. Let's see. Here's an old one from last year. Here, let's see if we click on it. Let's see if you can see the animation. It's really fun. Large. No, I can't see it. That was last year's. But anyway, here's the front of the postcard. Here's the back of the postcard. You download the templates from this place. You can get pricing. They walk you through pricing. It's all online. This is how you guys are going to make money. The way you make money is they'll give you a discount for uploading to their site. You're going to take that discount and charge retail to your client and make money. What I started to tell you is your hourly wage is never going to get you rich. That's it, period. So you have to say, okay, what thing can I do while I'm sleeping to make more money? Well, I can print a postcard, and when they run out, I can print it again and again and again by hitting reorder, right? And that means I'm not sitting at my desk anymore. It doesn't cost me hours of my time, but I just get the money for printing. You get that? So that's why I want you guys to know how to use printing resources.
So basically, this would be something like a side job.
For me, this little guy here, is that what you mean? Well, no, this is my full-time job. This is my side job, teaching. I teach 2 classes. I can't teach anymore at the college. They won't let me, as much as I love all of you. They won't. They only want adjunct professors, except for some full-time faculty. So this is my side job because I love it. That's why I do it. It's not the big bucks, you guys. It's just, I enjoy it. So what I have earned my living with all these years is graphic design. And how I've earned my living with graphic design isn't a little teeny postcard, but is large print jobs. I've had print jobs as big as $40,000, where it was like a magazine publication. And if you mark up a $40,000 job, that would be a lot of money to mark up. It's not a $100 markup. That's the kind of helps you make a car payment, right? Does that help you understand it, the business of it? All right. We digressed again. So did everybody upload? So in the discussions, were there any other questions before I switch off of that? We have a half hour. I want to be able to talk about these. So the question, Ryan, you had is upload your prototypes here. Everybody who can share their prototypes for their work, we've got the 3 of you, should be sharing them. You guys aren't going to do this last minute. This is a semester-long project. It is so much work. Like it's so much work. I know. So get feedback now so you can move forward on it, okay? If you haven't talked to me about what you're doing, you sure should clear it up. So who here has uploaded would like to share what they've done? Yeah. Okay. Come on up. Oh, this is the old one. So this one. There we go. I'm going to go sit down.
Okay, so mine, of course, was the one where I wrote letters to all my family, and I also incorporated type that either reminded me of them or was significant to them in some way. This isn't a picture I took. I wanted you guys to kind of get the feel of what I'm going for. I'm gonna take a picture of my own, like with the pen, kind of like this, but just, you get the gist. The rest of the pictures here are what I have taken so far. So this page is for my aunt. I really like the clean photographic photo book kind of look. And so this is one spread. And I also have little quotes about being grateful, because that's gratitude. It's what the book is all about. And then this is my second spread with, this was a paper that was very significant to me that I associate with my aunt. And then this is the letter that I hand wrote to her. And then here is my grandma's page. This is a picture. It takes up pretty much most of the page, and then you have the sides for the quotes. So that's another
Is
option.
that your grandma's hands? Or just...
Yes, those are my grandma's hands. Me. Yeah. I took it a while ago, but I'm like, oh, perfect, I'm going to use it. So, yeah, in my
Is
photography
it for an
class.
art project?
It was for a photography class I took this summer. So, yeah. Thank you. So, that's one spread. This one, I kind of didn't like this because I feel like it's really small, and I kind of like the overlapping big, but I just wanted to try something different.
Wait. I'm missing your description. Go back to the...
This one?
No.
This one.
Yeah. Say it again. So is this a sample spread?
This is a sample spread. Yeah. This isn't like the final spread that I'm going to choose. I just wanted to play around with a bunch.
Okay. And what was it you do like and don't like?
I don't like how it's kind of small. I like the big spread out kind of photographic one. I feel like there's just a lot of white space, and just looks kind of off to me. But yeah, I have her name and her relationship to me at the bottom, and then here's a little like side note, like this is her prayer book that she uses every night, which is why it's significant to me and why it reminds me of her. So
And you photographed that?
yes, everything I photographed except for the title page. This one was for my cousin. He helped me with math a lot, so that was the focus of this. I like this spread because you have a zoomed in shot, and then you have the kind of, oh, here's another zoom in shot, then a zoomed out one, and then the letter, and then again his name. And then this was, I like this one because it's just really clean and you can see the progression of it. This was a letter I wrote in 2004 to my parents, and I found it, and it's just really representative of me and just that like kindergarten-ish craft kind of feel. And then here's another quote, and then just a side note, I kind of just threw that in there. And then I tried to go for like the collage overlapping kind of look for this spread, and I think it works. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. It's really messy compared to like this clean one, but I'm just going to keep that in consideration. So
Can you
that's,
zoom back to the last previous one?
Yeah.
Do you want those dark edges? Was that intentional?
that wasn't intentional.
Was not intentional?
No.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay, so yeah, that's one option. And then this one was for, I like this spread. This was for my graduation. I'm thanking my family who came, and then that's actually a dog they gave me, and they each hand wrote a little something on the dog, and so I'm going to replace like maybe 2 of these pictures, but this is just so you get the idea like of the different angles of the dog and the different words and phrases they wrote. And then here is a Wide Shot. That's my family who wrote it. It's kind of again like a scrapbook kind of feel. And then I actually was thinking about writing the letter like kind of small and only having it fill the bottom end just to switch it up instead of the traditional like large vertical one. And then this one, this is just I like this one because it takes up the whole page, and again it's really scrapbooky. I include a quote again about being grateful, and then here's the type that I want to showcase. I may retake this because I didn't really do a good job of including this part and this part in the picture, so but it's just again to give you a general idea.
Where are you photographing these, in your bedroom?
In my house with the lamp,
Yeah.
it's hard to get good lighting.
Is there any possibility that you can photograph everything in the shade outside?
In the shade?
In the shade outside
Yeah.
against white paper.
Mhm.
All this weird shadow stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the edges being dark and the yellowish
Yeah, that kind
Harshness?
of thing. Yes.
is all because you're doing it inside.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend anybody who does photographs of their work or their projects, if you get a huge white sheet of paper, even if you go to a butcher shop, there's no butchers anymore, are there? But you go find a big roll of white paper.
Mhm.
Even if you go to an art store and get a roll of white paper.
Mhm.
Or whatever you want, craft paper, but I suggest white. And tape it to a wall outside up above and create, it's called a sweep. Just let it roll down and then go flat so there's no fold.
Yes.
You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And then place everything where it's always shady so there's no shadow coming on what you photograph.
Mhm.
It'll take all the stress of all the weird color stuff away.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay?
And then this was my last spread. I was just playing around with it. I like the box right here, kind of how it's split up. I don't like how I chose to split up the letter. Again, I was just playing around with it. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I have.
Has anybody got feedback for Amanda? So, do you like all the, let me just, I know I didn't pause and take breath. Do you like all these layouts or you're just trying different approaches?
I like several of them that I might reuse over and over again.
So, anybody got feedback?
The one that you had and kind of made your own collage within the picture, then you had it all laid out.
Yes.
It was really a clean layout and you had a small text on the side. I like that layout.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's something to talk about. So should every page like be accompanied with like a picture and
Depends what your book's about. This is. So, should it be? I don't know. Did you look at any of the sample books that were posted on the assignment page? So they're all completely different, each single one. So you and I need to talk about what your book's about, because what she's doing might be completely irrelevant to what you're doing, and how you put it together would be a whole different approach. It has to be all about you. Okay? So I can't answer that. Any other thoughts for Amanda from books? Okay, so let's flip through. Let's go to page 1. So I understand that's going to be your thing about that. I wonder if the word gratitude shouldn't be in your handwriting.
Would I have to scan that, or how would I put that?
You write it super big,
Okay.
and you scan it, and you do kind of what we did with that logo today.
Oh, okay.
Basically, you select everything white, do exactly the steps with the logo.
Okay.
And you wouldn't have to scan it. You could photograph it. You could scan it. But I think it would be nice if it was your handmade. Okay. Because it's such a handmade book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind by Amanda Vasquez. I don't mind if that's not, because that's kind of like, okay, that's the professional side.
Uh-huh.
But then you get the title. Okay. Next page. So back to what we were talking about, how to handle quotes and dashes.
Oh,
the
right.
name would be Roman.
Mhm.
Where you have Roy Bennett, it would be, his name would be in Roman type. And then the light in the heart, the name of the book might be in italic.
Uh-huh.
Or it might all be in Roman. You might have to italicize it and let the quote be italic.
Mhm.
Let the quote be italic, and then how you attribute it, like we talked about with the covers.
Mhm.
The next one. So the weird shadow on your book, like I didn't know if that was, I mean, on your letter, I didn't know if that was intentional. But when I look at this page, this is how I feel. You've got an incredibly sweet, heartwarming, nostalgic, ethereal candle photograph. Then you have a hard white edge.
Mhm.
That image should totally bleed off your page,
You mean this one or this one?
the left side,
This one.
for sure. And then on all your pages, you have your page numbers with this little corner thing. Your page numbers are so irrelevant to the heart of your book.
So I don't have to have page numbers?
You have to have page numbers, but they could be 6-point type
Okay.
in gray. You know what I mean? They don't have to,
Where would I put them? And does it have to be consistent with each page?
it always has to be consistent with each page. And you could just put it at the center bottom of the page. And on
Okay.
some pages, if you have a photo that bleeds off the bottom, the page number won't even show.
Okay.
But on some pages where it does,
Mhm.
it does. Okay?
Mhm.
But it's so obtrusive compared to this soft, loving gratitude book.
Mhm.
You got to rethink that. Like you might do M dash page number. Itty, bitty, 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 bitty. I mean, seriously, 7-point type. 6 points really small. 7 points tiny, but and then another dash. And don't put them too close to the corners because they sometimes trim off weird. But do not highlight them in a reverse box with an edge. You could put them in a little teeny circle.
Mhm.
You could put them at the bottom of each page. You could have a pen point coming off the left edge, and pointing to it. And you could do something like this. So just like you did here. So this is for your aunt. This is, so you could have at the bottom of your page, you could have a little number 2 pencil that's soft yellow or blue or something with a pencil point, and it could point to who the person is, and you can have it say, if every page was consistent. This page is your aunt, the next page is your grandma, the next page is your uncle, the next page is your friend, the next page is your parents. And you can have this pen sit here on every page, or pencil or whatever, crayon. The writing utensil could change based on what you wrote it with also. Or you could even have a little, but you could even have a little squiggle here in handwriting. So your page goes like, so again, you could just have some random hand-drawn line on every page, different hand-drawn line, and have the little page number sit at that point. And every page varies with it. Page number is the least important thing here. What matters is, so this is beautiful and soft and ethereal. It should bleed off. I shouldn't see any white edges, which are hard. If you want to put this quote about how describing your aunt's passage, maybe you have a little caption that takes up this area in reverse type here that describes it. Don't forget you got a gutter that's going to eat this up. This is really harsh, just stuck on the page. Like I want to feel the letter. I want to see a drop shadow. You know how to do drop shadows? You might have the envelope intersecting it behind it, whether you put it in an envelope or not yet. You could just pretend and create more collaginess. But this is Who's Nina?
My aunt. Oh, that's the name I call her.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, and then consider whether you want your backgrounds to be white. Like maybe your entire book should be cream, like it's soft, and you're printing it on white paper and you want a cream background. If you put on every page a 5% yellow tint or 3% yellow tint, every page would feel kind of creamy. If you got rid of that, that's beautiful, right? If you got rid of what you guys can't see is I'm covering her page number, right? If you got rid of this is beautiful. However, the only thing I struggle with here for you is this is breathtaking. It's smack in the middle. You're taking the key focal point and you're hurting us, you know. So move it all over. Have one page just be and let it cross over, because what's going to happen is the spine will probably show up here, and then her sleeve will come onto this page and take both of those quotes and put it over here. And then decide, so this is your narrative. This is you talking. Every night my Nana says, blah, blah, blah. You're describing your Nana. And then you have a quote from Maya Angelou over here. They should be totally different typefaces. This typeface is your voice. This is you talking. You decide what you talking looks like. So maybe when you talk, your narrative is not italic like a quote, but is Roman, is sans serif, is clean, maybe is 10-point type on 16-point letting. And then here, when you have a quote, like from Maya Angelou, it's handled totally differently. It's just different. So we know your voice, and then we know something you want to highlight who that person is. That's why this is a book about type, because your type is helping tell the story. Because we'll now be able to hone in the book and go, oh, this is Amanda talking. Oh, this is Amanda picked this quote describing this person. And then here, same thing. Beautiful, beautiful. This should bleed off everywhere. And then you could take this. This is my Nana's part. So this is your narrative. So let this bleed off everywhere. And if that means you put your narrative over there, you do. Decide where your page numbers fall. They go on left and right hand pages. Page numbers are everywhere. And then decide what goes at the bottom. And maybe what happens is, I'm telling you this for everybody. This isn't just about Amanda, you guys. So when you create your publications, when you create your publications, you can go to your master pages. They should be facing pages. I don't know why it doesn't show up facing pages, but anyway, let's just pick our facing pages here so you can see. So what you might choose to do is you might have your page number. I showed you guys automatic page numbering, but this will be a page 2. What was your aunt's name?
Benton, B-E-N-T-I-N.
Okay. And so, for example, on a master page, let's say you've got your page number here and centered on every page. This will tell me where center is in a second. All right, well, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. We'll go here, we will align to the page, and we will center it, right? And so every page is going to have page number, who the person is we're talking about. Next page number. And here, if this is still your aunt, you decide, This will be page 3, right? You decide if you want this to sit here or not. Or you might have, who she is there on one side, a name of the person, and the other side, the relationship. You decide, but that's the continuity. And then you go to the next page, and it's going to say your grandma's name, and then it's going to say my grandma, right? And, is English a first language in your family or second language? First language. Okay, so if somebody where English is not your first language in your family, maybe you decide if your family spoke Spanish, for example, then you'd have your grandmother's name, and then you'd have mi abuela or something like that. And it's your book; it's personal to you. You decide what adds meaning to it, and then the continuity is that I know you know how to use master pages and page numbering and all that. Does that help you?
Yes.
Think
and
it-
if the picture bleeds off the page, then I would just turn that to white or something that pops up.
Or ignore it.
Maybe.
So, for example, I create books and I page number them. And I put my page numbers, I think I demoed this for you guys once. I make a new layer on top of everything right here, and that's where I put page numbers on the top layer of everything. And I keep them black, and I don't change the color of the page numbers. Okay? I just don't. Because if you're on page 3 and you see it over here, well, what follows page 3? But, So if your page numbers show up on most pages, that's fine. Why I say ignore it is, if you want my ant to stand out, then yes, you can make it white or whatever you want. But you don't need to highlight necessarily the page number so it's always showing. It's an aesthetic choice, right? And I do put them on the top layer, so whatever is below it doesn't interfere with it. Like if you had a photo and your page number was on a master page, it would sit below everything, and then you'd never see your master pages if everything bled. Did everybody follow that? I said that fast, but all right. So let's go back here. So think about what your background is. If you want it to be white or not. Maybe it's watercolor paper. Maybe it's just paper stock that's white, but just has a little texture to it or something. When you do something like this, what InDesign does is it will give you guides when you draw boxes in InDesign for everybody. Because I think I showed you grid layout the other day, everybody, didn't I? For this book? Yes. Thank you, Brian. Okay, so let's show our guides here. So if I draw a box, let's just fill it with color so you can see it. Okay, and then I'm holding my Option key down, and it's here, and now I've got them all duplicated. I recommend that if you hold your Shift key down, you can constrain proportions, but you'll get, oops, I didn't mean that. But you'll get things to align, and you'll see that it'll snap to align. Can you guys see that? And if I take both of these, I'm going to get that same, I'm going to get a little arrow that's going to tell me when it's equidistant. Might be turned off on here. But I can also select those two, and I can go to my Align panel, and I can align my selection, and I can equal spacing. So I could top align those two, both of those. Here. I can select both of those, and I can top align them. And I can hold my Shift key, and I drag them down. And then I can select these two, and I can base align them. And I can select that. And then I can take these two, and I can left align them. And, you can start to get guides. Mine has this arrow thing turned on. View, guides. Lock column guides, snap guides, lock guides. Snap to document grid. That might do it. I don't know. You play with those. But you want to keep your spacing the same here and here and here and here, where when you look at this one, you don't have that. So I would end up moving this over so the space here is the same as the space here. Okay. And all that dark stuff will just, all the hard shadows, all those hard shadows will totally be soft if you photograph it in the shade. It'll be soft. But with this particular photo, you're at a desk, and so it makes sense that you have indoor light. But I think that you're going to like the overall coloring of what you photograph without like the glare on the word Richard compared to the bottom corner where it says thank you. Or the flip side is you can scan them on a flatbed scanner. Man, it's 4 o'clock already. We got to one of you. That was it. Did that help all of you though? Okay. Is there anything else in this that we should talk about? Same thing. You're inhaling your center. So what I would do is I'd probably do little, and then the final big. Right?
You mean two on
Two on one side and then bleed the whole page here. And then use, when you have 2 stacked, you'll have room to write this and this. And this is 2 separate images, right?
Yeah.
Image, different image.
or image.
Oh. That's a different image? Oh, and then you put that on top?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You might diffuse that so we know what's on the top. Meaning you could blur that or change opacity of it, or you just blur it. In Photoshop, go to Photoshop and blur it. You know how to do that?
Isn't it just like you said?
In Photoshop, you know you guys want to go, but layer, we're on our layer. Let's just pick this one. There. You can go to select, filter. Let's go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And you can just blur the heck out of that. And you can just save it blurred. And save it as a new name, blurry. And what it'll allow is, it'll allow that letter to pop on the page if the background's blurry. Because we already see what that is here. If that's blurry, it'll just be soft. Does that help? To create depth? Does that help you guys at all? Anyway, you're all very patient. Please, if you didn't prep, I know some of you did. If you didn't prep, bring your books, your spreads to class. Taylor brought it up. Next time you come to class, it's going to be November, and you'll have like 2 or 3 weeks to finish your book, and you're done. So if you want to send me pages by email, like, hey, Vicki, look at this. If you want me to talk on the phone to you about your books, I'm happy to. If you're not here and you want to make progress, don't be in pain waiting a week. Just email me. If I don't respond fast enough, usually I see the emails. I'm not very good with my pipeline emails. You can always hunt me down at victoria@victoriatorf.com, my business email. But find me so you can get feedback so you're not struggling last minute, because it will be a struggle last minute. And you're going to spend money on this book. You're going to want it to be extraordinary. Okay? All right, you guys are wonderful. Have a beautiful week. Happy Halloween. That help?
Yeah. Did you have anything additional to say?
Did I have anything additional? We're still taping, so let's keep going. So I would make those equidistant, like I described. Same thing, that's your voice, so put it in your voice type. I like grid layouts. I think they're really successful. I would make things bleed off more. That's just a really cleaner look, to be honest. Like that is a really clean, wonderful look, right? But don't put your face smack in the fold.
Oh yeah.
Right? So if that means you have to blow this up larger, blow it up larger, shift it over, and manufacture some cork board on the side. Okay? Don't change how you handle quote type, so we know what quote type is and what size it is and what it is. Okay. And this is fun, these little fragment pages, but keep your spacing all the same. Don't cut this short just because you wanted more space here. Cut it oh, I see what you did. You created space, that's really fun. But just make sure you've got equal spacing here, okay? And make a more dramatic cut, not just a little teeny cut. This is, of course, your voice, so it's going to be different. If you want things fragmented and funny shaped, you can place graphics in funny shaped boxes. So you could go to here where I drew this shape, right? And joined it. Come on, join. There. Well, you can join it like this. You could select those two ends and go to Object, Path, Join. There it is. And in here, Command D, in that box, I don't know what that is, but we'll find out in a second. There it is. It's Bodybuilder. You can put it in that funny shaped box, which might be fun to have little fragmented boxes instead of always your very angular boxes, right? Especially if you're being playful, like, oh, we did puzzles, or, appropriate for different people.
Pictures where it's like you're taking a picture of one object, but you turn the camera, and then so when you place it together, there's all these little different lines.
Oh,
different
cute.
pictures.
I've never done that.
Nice.
That's
It's like some
fun.
different kind of a collage.
That's a great idea. Here we go. I think we covered them all. Help you?
Yes.
And it's all on recording.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.